Hey, Dan Passarelli here. Today I want to talk about the difference between a straddle and a strangle and when to use which. Straddles and strangles are both volatility positions, pure volatility positions, where the more the stock moves, the more the straddle buyer makes. So when do we use which? Well, they're pretty similar, and in some ways it's kind of splitting hairs a bit, but there are a couple of key differences. First, let's explore what a straddle is. A straddle is when a trader buys a call and a put, both in the same expiration and both with the same strike price. So here in Spiders, I might buy these 690 calls, 690 puts. Of course, these prices are from the past. I recorded this in the recent past, so they're not current. Now, this is what this looks like. We get this sort of V-shaped scenario where if the stock is, and let's just straighten that out a little bit, if the stock is at the strike price at expiration, both options expire, but if it's anywhere not exactly at the strike price, either the call or put is in the money. And the bigger the move up, the more the call makes, and the put can only lose so much. And the bigger the move down, the more the put makes, and the call can only lose so much. So the bigger the move, the better. In this case, the most that can be lost is $14.96 per contract. Now let's look at a strangle. Similar concept, but just a little bit differently. Here we're going to buy an out-of-the-money call and an out-of-the-money put, so two different strike prices. Higher strike call, so we'll look at the 692s, and a lower strike put, so we'll look at the 688s. So we have something pretty similar, but there's a bigger space in between here, in between the two strike prices where both options could expire. So I have a greater chance of losing 100%, but it's a lower cost that I would pay for it. Instead of losing $14.96, I would only lose $13.03. And that being said, I do need a little bit of a bigger move with the strangle because the break evens would be a little bit farther apart because it's two different strike prices. So I risk less, but I need a bigger move with the strangle. Now, that's all fine and good too, but there's another consideration, and that has to do with how much the strike is at the money. If I look at Amazon, I see that the stock is at, again, price is not current, 232.38, almost 232.5. There is a 232.5 strike, and I could trade a straddle at that strike, and the deltas would be pretty flat. It doesn't matter if it goes up or down. But if I look at Apple, if I look at Apple, well, that stock, when I recorded this, was at 273.81. There's not a 273 or a 274 strike, so I can't trade a straddle that's exactly at the money. In order for me to have a more neutral trade, I have to trade the strangle and do the closest out of the money call strike and the closest out of the money put strike. So like the 275 calls and the 272.5 puts. Now, all that being said too, we always want to look at volatility. Implied volatility is pretty high compared to historical volatility in Apple. What we tend to look more for is a stock like something like this, where implied volatility is very low, it's close to or even below historical volatility. Hope that helps. This is Dan Passarelli. Trade smart.